a lot of my sermons, I'll let you in on this. A lot of my sermons are either things, or previous sermons where I've said, this will actually fit really well this week. This is something I'm thinking about. Or there are things where while I'm working, I'm very fortunate where I'm in a position where I can just put in some earbuds and I'll just listen through an audio Bible or a commentary or a sermon series. I listened to a lot of C.S. Lewis this week. That was a lot of fun. He's kind of hard to understand sometimes, but it was a lot of fun. And I listened through Ecclesiastes, which was probably not the best thing to listen to at the end of the day. It was so hot. It must have been 95, 98, maybe 100 or so degrees out. And I just wanted to be done. It was already 6. It was like 6 p.m. I wasn't expecting to work later than 4 that day. I'm washing these windows, listening to vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So I'm going to preach on Ecclesiastes today. It's a notoriously depressing book. And frankly, if you don't have a Christian worldview, it is a depressing book. It's one of the 5 books of wisdom in the Bible, and as such, it's meant for practical application in everyday life. And because of that, I really like the wisdom books. They're not like the history books or even like the Gospels. There's a lot of bits in the Gospels where it's like, yes, you can apply this directly. Jesus is like, I am speaking to you, Christian. But then you get to some of the Kings, the first or second Kings, and it's just these recordings, and you have to really work to pull out the application. Or you get to something like Habakkuk, and it's like this back and forth, and there's poetry at the end. You say, what do I do with this? But the wisdom books are, I don't know how to put it. I don't know what the word is for it. They're not easier to read, but it feels like it's easier to apply, especially the Proverbs. Because when Solomon was writing the Proverbs, whoever the Proverbist, I know you say psalmist, but the Proverbist, however you say that, whenever they were writing is, you do this and this will happen. This is generally true. And Ecclesiastes is much like this in that it's a set of musings, I suppose to be the right word, about the futility of life and the impermanence of everything that we see around us. And he speaks directly to us. A lot of the times the Bible is written for other people. It's written to other people, but it's for us. But the wisdom books are for us because they're general wisdom for everyone. And Ecclesiastes is no different. And it's written by, some people think Solomon, Ecclesiastes, but the author is never referred to as Solomon. It's just the preacher who was the son of David. So it's one of David's sons who was a preacher, who was wise, who was really rich. So the thought is it's Solomon. But he tries to address this central question that lies at the bottom of all existence. And every human being at some point has reached the bottom of their respective well and questioned, if I'm going to die, then what's it all for? Every human being on the face of the earth has come to the horrible and shocking realization that everyone before them has died, that they will die, and everyone they know and everyone after them will also die. So what do you do with that? Especially if you continue living life like it has purpose. Why? Why are we doing this? If we're all going to die, what's it for? That's the question of Ecclesiastes. And many have tried to console themselves in the idea of legacy or by leaving some sort of long-standing impact. But those same individuals, in trying to leave a lasting impact, have also paradoxically proclaimed knowledge that their lives are futile. And at some point have had the horrible sinking realization that no one else has ever really succeeded in living after death. That we're all forgotten in the end. I mean, really, can you name your great, I think that's enough greats for us, none of us to know, grandparents? Do you know their names? They lived just like you. They laughed, they loved, they cried. They had children. They must have had children. They had jobs. Out of the mind. And one day, if the Lord tarries his return, that will be us. We will be forgotten from memory. And that's okay. And that is perfectly okay. The question is, what do you do with it? That's the question. What do we do with this horrible reality that gnaws at us? If Christianity isn't true, then that's just the way of the world. Who cares? But I think Christianity is true. And I believe the preacher also believed in Christianity, though he didn't know the name of Christ yet. He saw this beautiful, striking reality, and he applied it to this. I mean, even just to keep going, the scientists tell us that in a Google number of years, that's 10 to the 10th power number of years, the universe will run out of heat and collapse into itself in a process known as heat death. Even if you can conquer the whole earth and build statues to remember you, build pyramids bigger than Pharaoh's, eventually the earth gets swallowed up and the heat death. There's nothing left. It's just, what's the point of it all? Your atoms get returned into nothing. What's the point of it all? It would seemingly then amount all to nothing. We will die and we will be forgotten. And even the most staunch atheists would then would not disagree when the scriptures tell us that we are dust, and to dust we shall return. That's all very depressing, but Ecclesiastes is not an agnostic text, nor is it an atheistic text, and as such deals with the subject in a rather hopeful way, which is ironic to say that Ecclesiastes can acknowledge, yep, you're going to die and be forgotten, yet there is hope to be found in this reality. The Bible is not in the business of ignoring reality. Instead, it exposits reality and gives meaning to it. Yes, life is indeed futile. That is to say, our works, our lives, and our very world are destined to pass away. But this, in fact, is a great blessing. There is but one thing that does not pass away. By recognizing this, we are free to hold on to something that is not transient, but is instead transcendent. Another one of the many upside-down values of the kingdom. To gain your life, if you want to live, if you want to be remembered by the only person who is worthy of remembering you, or I guess that's the other way around. If you want to be remembered, if you want to gain your life, you must lose it. That is one of the upside-down values of the kingdom. This truth frees us. It frees us. To recognize this reality frees us. But it only frees us if we recognize the reality of Christ alongside it. If we don't, then it's bondage, it's chains, it's terror, it's dread. It pushes men to do horrible, horrible things. There's a reason Genghis Khan had such a big empire, and that's because he was afraid to die. There's a reason why Hitler marched through France, and that's because he was afraid to die. There's a reason the pharaohs built the pyramids, because they were afraid to die. There's something inside of us, and it's hard to deny, that before Christ, we are afraid to die. But what do the scriptures tell us? O death, where is your sting? O grave, where is your victory? Who cares if we're forgotten? I'm remembered by the eternal Lord of the universe. My name is in the book of life. That's the principle. That's the principle, that there is no fear of death, that we can recognize that, yep, death is coming. It's right around the corner. Every day I get older. The whole right side of my body right now, it's clicking like it's never clicked before. And I tell you what, for me, I'm 21. It feels like death is right there. That's what it feels like. I can feel it. It's just, and it's true. It's true. It's right around the corner. We don't know when it is. God forbid we get into an accident on the way home. Death is right there. It is an ever-present reality. And what do we do with it? We have to address it. And that's why I like Ecclesiastes. It might seem depressing, but there is truth and beauty and hope in realizing that everything is vanity. It's all vanity if it wasn't for the sake of Christ. That's what it's about. So our text today is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 9 through 15. Ecclesiastes 3, 9 through 15. I'll give you a second to get there. Here's what it says. What profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboureth? I have seen the travail which God has given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. He has made everything beautiful in his time. Also, he has set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it that men should fear before him. That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And God require that which is past. There's three parts to this. Life is futile, and we know it. God lasts forever. He's eternal, and we know it. And we've got a job to do. Those are the three parts I pulled out of this. And I realized this while I was breaking it down. It's parallels. There's a type of Hebrew poetry, I forget what it's called, where it builds up like this. It's a pyramid. So it's 2 points here, 2 points at the end. 2 points here, 2 points at the end, 1 point in the middle. And that's exactly what the text does. So let's look first at verse 9 then. What profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboureth? It's a rhetorical question, but what's the answer? At the end of the day, what can we show for our labor here on earth? Again, I'll bring it up. What do you have to hold on to that your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather made with his own hands? Some of us might have something, but probably not a lot. Probably nothing. There's really not much to show at the end of the day for our labor. Man has nothing to hold on to. Striving towards anything, even good things, and this is mentioned in Ecclesiastes, even things like religious pursuits, hard work, or wisdom, all of it ends in death. This is what the preacher says. He says, I've seen that wisdom itself is vain, because the wise man dies just the same as the foolish man. I've seen that riches are vain, because the rich man dies exactly the same as the poor man. The end of everyone is in the grave. Is there any man with full mental faculties available to him who has not realized this fact? That every single human being who has trod the earth at some point realized he must die. This is a realization, this is a truth that we all come to at some point. If you haven't, sorry to ruin your Sunday morning, but you're going to die. We're going to die one day. Life is futile. It's passing. It's a vapor. Even the non-Christians, even the non-Hebrew peoples have realized this. Every single human being has realized that life, it's like striving after one is trying to push a rope. He can't do anything. It's impossible to hold on to our lives. And so many men try to build these palaces and these huge statues of themselves to say, look, remember me, please, 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 please. And we dig it up and we say, oh, we think it's this emperor, even the emperors. There's dozens and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emperors and kings from the Bronze Age that we just don't know about. And they controlled these huge, massive, powerful, awe-inspiring societies. And what's left? Who cares about Artaxerxes II? No one. No one cares about Artaxerxes II. And he was a king. He was one of the most powerful men. And nobody cares. That's a Percy Shelley poem, actually. It's Ozymandias. I don't know if you've heard this one before, but it describes a traveler going through a distant land, and he finds a statue in the desert, and it's just the legs of this statue remaining. And on the bottom of it, it says, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair." I love that poem. I love that poem so much. Ozymandias wrote that on his podium to say, look how powerful I am. Despair. But now the traveler is there in the desert looking at nothing, stretching around these legs. Look on my works and despair. That's what the preacher is calling us to do in this passage. Look on the works of the mighty and despair. What are we to do? There's nothing. It's just death. We're all going to die. I'm positive that even without the wisdom of Solomon, we all realize this. And further, we also realize that whatever work we do produce, we have to leave to someone else who may not steward it as well as us. It will just pass away. But the point of this is not for us to throw our hands up and surrender. What he's trying to get at is that if life ends, the point of life, if there is one to be found, cannot merely be in life itself. If there is a point, if there is any purpose to be found, even an atheist philosopher has to recognize this. If there is a point to life, it cannot be found in life itself because it's transient. There's nothing to grab onto. There can't be a point within nothingness, which means the point of life has to be transcendent. There has to be something greater than life itself, or perhaps it is life itself, where the point resides. There is work here that matters. This is verse 10. I have seen the travail, which means the work, which God has given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. So work is futile. It's passing away. But God gives us work to do. There are things to be busy with while we are here on earth, and it is from God to do. Now, we can stop philosophizing. We can stop trying to figure this out, and we can just say, well, God's given it to us and I'm going to do it. If you want to stop right there, be perfectly content in doing that. I will not force you to go further than that. If you are totally content with saying God has given it to me to do it, I'm not even going to think about all this other stuff. I'm just going to do it because God has required that I do it. God bless you. That is exactly where God wants you to be. I have no problem with that. However, I believe the point of preaching in part is to expose or exposit the mysteries of God, so we're going to go a little bit deeper. But if you just want to leave right now, don't. But you could leave right now if you wanted to. God gives us work. Though we and the work of our hands perish, that work is God-given. The call to work itself is imperishable. The work is perishable, but the call is not. That is what we hold on to, the eternal call of God to work. There must be some level of value in our work if this is true. But the value can't be found then in its unlasting effects, namely in exalting ourselves. The value of our labor, the labor of our hands, is not in the wealth we produce. The value of the labor is our obedience to God. It is faith. It is the gospel. Insomuch as your work exalts Christ, there is the value of your labor. Insomuch as you provide for your family with your work, and in that exalt the name of Christ, that is the value of your labor. There's the point. Sure, your house will be gone in 200, 300 years, maybe sooner. Sure, your money will disappear. Your life will slip out of your hands. But the exaltation of Christ crying, holy, 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 through the work of our hands, that lasts forever because God is eternal and his praise is eternal. Our labor is valuable, even though we can't hold on to it. Even though there might be nothing left for us to do, like physically, our labor is valuable. There is value in it, even though it passes away. Work is indeed blessed by God, and it seems to be what man was made for. Genesis 2:15 says, "And the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it." That is to work within the garden. This is the purpose of man. Man was made to work. Labor is not a curse. Now, the aches and pains we get from labor and the thorns that infest the ground, that's part of the curse. But the labor itself is not a curse. I believe in the new heaven and the new earth, we're going to be working for the rest of eternity. And you know what? It's going to be good, God-honoring work. That's what we were put here to do, is to work. And even when Eve gets introduced later in 2:18, it's not because Adam's lonely. He's conversating with the creator God of the universe. He's not lonely. God makes Eve because he needs a helper with him in the garden. That is a co-laborer. Again, that's part of the point of marriage, a co-laborer to be with him in the garden. Man and woman are made to work, to subdue the earth, to bring it into submission, to exalt God. And this is a little sidebar, but this is kind of what I was listening to also when I said I was listening to C.S. Lewis. I think this is an interesting point. Christ makes things in such a way to reflect the truth of himself, and I believe before the fall, this is not my thing, this is Lewis, but he says that man was to be to the animals as Christ is to us. And he identifies this. If you ever had a household pet, they become almost strikingly human. Just as when Christ takes us as sheep, because he's our shepherd, we become more and more and more like him. We were put here to subdue the earth, to bring about labor. That's what we're here for. Now, the curse makes things difficult. The fall, sin itself, makes us very difficult. But the labor in itself has value because it's given by God and it is blessed. Even still, labor's physical rewards will pass away. Let's look at verse 15. That which has been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And God requires that which is past. Have you ever noticed that time is kind of this flat circle? That all this stuff that seems to have already happened happens again? I'm a historian, and I can tell you history doesn't repeat itself. It does sometimes. History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes a lot. There's a lot of things. That's not me, that's Mark Twain. There's a lot of things that seem to happen over and over and over and over again. And I think it's so funny that when the preacher's writing this 6,000-7,000 years ago, he's saying nobody remembers what happened in the past. That's ancient history. And nobody's gonna remember us in the future either. There's a lot of stuff. That's one of the most ancient pieces of writing we have. It is the Epic of Gilgamesh. It begins with, in the ancient days before there was bread. Even then, even at like our oldest point of recorded history that we've discovered, they're talking about the good old days That's what we're talking about all the way back then. Everything just happens over and over and over again. And the preacher here says, and God required that which is past. What's happened in the past happens again. It starts over. It's this big cycle, and God makes it that way to show us the futility of life, to show us that we're striving after the same things over and over and over again, and we don't get anywhere. And that's the pattern in the Old Testament as well. We build up the Tower of Babel. Can we be like God now? No. We try to save ourselves, and we go through and we say, well, God, can't you just wipe out everyone and start again with only good people? Okay, Noah's Ark. Okay, Noah is drunk and naked in the garden. All right, this isn't going to work. What if we had a king? It's a flat circle. It just keeps happening over and over and over again. And now we're building our own modern day Towers of Babel. We're trying to say, well, what if we wiped out all the bad people? That's really scary. When secularists start saying, what if we just killed all the bad people? Then society would be better. What if we all just spoke the same language? God does this. He ordains history in this path. He brings out these patterns to show us. We're not going to get anywhere. There is nothing that our hands, our human hands, can do. This is to point to the truth about our human nature, to show us the issue with sin. The futility of history, the repetition of history, is to point us to the fact that there is a sin problem that cannot be addressed by human means. Every piece of history, even outside the Bible, points to this truth, that there is a sin problem that cannot be dealt with human hands, and God himself must deal with the sin problem by entering into wretched humanity and dying for us. That's the point of history repeating itself. Again, C.S. Lewis, I've been reading him too much. C.S. Lewis has said, how monotonously alike are all the great tyrants and conquerors. They're all the same. Napoleon, Mao Zedong, Genghis Khan, Hitler, Stalin, anyone you can think of. How monotonously alike they all are. They all build up these cults of personality around themselves and say, look how great I am, and they're all dead. Every single one of them is dead, or they're going to be dead. Kim Jong-un is going to die one day. Saddam Hussein, he already is dead. All these tyrants, they're dead. Striving after wind. Let's not live like these tyrants. Let's not try to exalt our own names. Let's realize what the preacher is saying here, that there is one great eternal truth to grasp onto and say, this will not pass away. That is our job. You see how both these things can be true, that life is totally futile and yet there is meaning and wonder and glory within it, that there is beauty in these futile things? It's hard to grasp, but it's true. That's not to say, when I say futile, I don't want us to think, well, that means everything's meaningless. There is meaning to our families. There is meaning to our work. But what is that meaning? It's Christ. That's the meaning. In all things, that's the meaning. These verses all point us to this life. Life is a vapor. To strive to build things upon this earth is to build upon sand. What did Christ say? There is a firm foundation to build upon. We don't have to build on sand. Well, in some sense, we do have to build on sand because we're here. But even though our foundation might crumble, there's a deeper, more true foundation, that of Christ. And that's what we need to be building our labors upon. What should we worry about? Eternal things. Not things where moth and dust and rust corrupt or thieves break through the steel, like he said. The kingdom. Let's focus on the kingdom. Let's focus on the coming kingdom of Christ. So that's the first point. Life is a vapor, and we know it. It's futile, and we know it. And God makes us to know it. But also, God endures forever, and we know it. It's obvious to see how futility has been made apparent to all men. Every man has come to the realization of futility. But it's less clear to see how the nature of God has been made obvious to all men. Romans 1:19 through 20 says this, because that which has been made known of God is manifest in them. For God has showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so they are without excuse. Paul says here, there are two things that are namely known about God by every living creature. He's divine and he's eternal. If you spent any amount of time thinking about God, thinking about life, where this all came from, you've come to two realizations. Whatever made this has to be eternal, and he has to be divine. Those are two realizations that every human being has come to. Now, it's true, and we'll see here in Romans 2:15, which show the work of the law written in their hearts and their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts, the meanwhile accusing or also excusing one another. Accuse or excuse. That's the point I want to bring out there. I also want to bring out the fact that the moral law is written in our hearts as well. But the mind can accuse or excuse these facts, these principal truths about God that are revealed to everyone. There are some of us who are able to suppress this truth in unrighteousness. And we say, okay, that's terrifying. And then we push it all the way down because we don't want to think about an eternally powerful divine being at the center of all things. And we just want to keep building our statues. We keep wanting to say, well, I want to be the center. I want to be the middle of the universe. Look how big my ivory statue is. And then it fades away in 10 years. We don't want to recognize the truth of an eternally powerful God. I suggest we do not fight against this truth because there is nothing to fight against. Let's embrace this reality of an eternally powerful God. And let's also realize this is written on the hearts of every single human being. His moral law and his nature is revealed through us, everything, and is also apparent in the hearts of everyone. This truth should be the center of our evangelism, just as a sidebar. This should be the center of our evangelism. Because it's not a head issue. It's not a knowledge issue. For some people, knowledge is just a roadblock they've put up to disguise the fact that they want to deny God. And so that's kind of the point of apologetics, is to say, all right, you tear it down. Do you know enough now? And they say, no. The reason is because there's something wrong with our hearts. That's the issue. Every single person who has not accepted Christ, there's something wrong with their heart. And whether they want to realize it or not, there is. There is a divine truth that has been placed within inside all of us. We know God. Yet we look away from him. That's the problem of humanity. We realize that life is futile, and there's something that isn't futile, and we still choose to go and wallow in the mud and say, I want the futile because I like it, because it's about me. That's what we do. That's the problem of humanity. And that is what the preacher, the point of all of this vanity of vanities, the point of all that is to pull us out of the mud and say, look at how glorious God is. What are you doing in the mud? That is the purpose of Ecclesiastes here. So God endures forever, and we know it. God's eternality and his divine nature are apparent to all men. And likewise, his intrinsic moral law is also apparent to all people. And that's reflected in verse 11. So verse 11 here. Again, you see how we're going up one side and on the up the other. We're going to hit a little climax in the middle. So cool. So 11, he says this. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Oh, what a verse. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also, he has set the world in their hearts so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. Isn't it awesome that God makes everything beautiful in its own time? Even in the futility of life, God works. Not only does he work, he turns ashes to beauty. He turns mourning to dancing. He picks up dry bones and puts flesh and sinew and tissue on them, and they praise his name. Even in this futile life, even in this vapor of existence, God is working, and he is working mightily, and he is producing beauty in the futility that is the human form. How awesome is that? Just before this is a very famous passage that I think the Birds did a cover of. There is a time that everything turn. There is a season. That's right before this. In every season of life, a time to mourn, a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to gather stones, to take away stones. He has made everything beautiful in his time. All of it is beauty. All of it is beauty. The judgment of God is beauty. The mercy of God is beauty. There is beauty in suffering. There is beauty in pain. Because if you dig deep enough, Christ's right there at the middle. There's beauty in all of this because the truth of God is reflected in all of this. But the preacher then throws out a but in the form of an also, implying that these ideas are connected. That everything will be made beautiful in its time, but also that man has been confounded. We know that God is eternal, yet we can't see the timeline in which all things will be made beautiful. Let's read that again. He has made everything beautiful in his time. Also, he has set the world in their heart. so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. How infuriating. How infuriating is that? We know that God is eternal. We know that there is something that lasts forever, and yet we can't see it. We can't even see into the future or the past right now. This is what we know right here. This is what we can see. But this truth is awe-inspiring, and that's reflected in verse 14. But isn't that, that gets at me. And that is one of the parts of human strife. God has placed eternity in our hearts, a longing for eternity to not die. And yet, we can't see the beginning of all things, and we can't see the end of all things. We just see right now, this little blip right here. I mean, maybe you can take a video, but it's not like you're actually seeing into the past. It's just pixels on a screen. It's not real. We can't see into the past, we can't see into the future, yet we know there is a past, we know there is a future. We long to not die, and we know that there's a way that we can't die. God has placed that on our hearts. It's infuriating to come to that, but also it's very comforting because there's truth in it. And because we know Christ, we know what he has come to do, it's relief. It's okay, I see it now. How beautiful. But for people who don't have Christ, it's infuriating to say, I can feel it. There is something more. I want to be remembered. I am scared to die. What do I do? I can feel eternity inside my bones. What do I do? And they have no answer. They have no answer. We have an answer. It's Christ. The answer is Christ. Amen. That's eternity. It's not statues. It's not ruling nations with an iron fist. It's Christ. That is what Christ has placed inside us, a deep longing for him. Even these people who suppress the truth and unrighteousness, even these people, the center of their being, what they're longing for, everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants peace. Everyone wants joy, unless you're a sadist or a masochist, but the exception proves the rule. Everyone wants these things. This is our longing, and yet we seek for them in all the wrong places. We have a longing. We look for it in the wrong places. The solution is Christ. That's the human problem. The human problem is we don't look for it in Christ. That's our issue. So verse 14, this is where the truth is reflected. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it that men should fear before him. Whatever God does, his actions ontologically, meaning by virtue of their existence, it is necessary. So for instance, a tree is made of wood. So that's what ontologically means. It's just necessary. Whatever his actions are, they must last forever. And so will his precepts, his rules, his teachings, and his character. They will all stand forever. Because of the nature of who God is, they must stand forever. It's very hard to step out of our human perspective and realize that God is above time. He is right now seeing Peter deny him equally as much as he is seeing us in this room, and he is seeing us next week. He's seeing all of that in a moment. He looks out in a moment and he sees it all. To say he sees may even be blasphemous. I don't know. It's hard to use words to describe this. The perception of God is one that's almost impossible to grasp. It is very difficult to realize this. But it is necessary to realize that it will last forever. God speaks, and in a moment, everything explodes out from the center of the universe, being Christ. He says, let there be light, and there is light. It simply is, because he has spoken it into being. From him, all things begin to radiate. He speaks them into existence. He crushes them out of existence, and it happens in a moment, and its effects are eternal. We cannot add to them. We cannot say, look, God, I made you this statue. We can't do that, and we can't take away from them. We can't confound the plans of God. He is omnipotent. That is the word that we are looking for, omnipotent. He cannot be thwarted. He is all powerful. There is nothing we can give to him, and there is nothing we can take away from him. This is why our goodness is not enough to suffice for our own salvation. It's like giving it's like when your child asks for $5 so they can buy you a birthday present. Okay, yeah, I'm happy that you're buying me a birthday present, but that's my money. I don't owe you anything, actually. It's like God with good works. Anything that we do, it comes from him. All we can do is offer it back up to him. And how terrible is it that we only come to God, or we most often come to God when we're at the end of our rope and we have nothing left to give him. Christ is calling us to give him everything. Everything. He calls us to perfection and nothing less. Be ye perfect. That's what he's calling us to. We try and we say, okay, well, I have this one problem. Can you solve that? Okay, thanks, God. Bye. It's going to be painful. He wants you to be perfect. What we're asking for most of the time is less love, not more. Christ is giving us the most love. He chastens the one that he loves. He is purifying us as gold. That's what's happening. We can't add anything to it. We can't take anything away from it. God gives us, we give back to him. It's not even we're giving back to him. We say, this is yours that you've put in my hands. What I'm holding on to right now, this is yours. You've given it to me. That's worship. That's praise. That allows us to sacrifice even our own lives. It's not ours. It's not ours. It's not ours to hold on to. It is his to sustain or to end or to magnify or to minimize. It is all his. Nothing can be taken away from or added to the work of the Lord. Life is futile. What a beautiful, beautiful truth. The sovereignty of God and the weakness of man is done. All this is demonstrated. His omnipotence is demonstrated for the sake of reverence. That's what it says at the very end there, 14. That men should fear before him. To show how futile man is and how great God is. It's for the sake of reverence. It's to bring us to our knees. That's the purpose of this all. The point of suffering, the point of greatness, the point of sorrow and death. All of it is to inspire awe. And I love that word. It's used in the Bible quite often, and I feel like we've minimized it. It's like love, where we say, I love pizza, and you say, I love my wife. And it's like, these aren't the same thing. God is awesome. He is the sum of awe. He is awe-inspiring. His very existence, his eternality should strike awe and fear into our hearts. In the reverential sense, I mean. Fear the Lord. That is what we're called to. That's one of our purposes in life, is to fear God. To show him reverence. It's the only thing worth reverence. We don't kneel before statues. We don't kneel before kings. We don't swear fealty to empires or passing away nations. We swear allegiance to Christ because we are citizens of the kingdom in which he is the king. All of reality is meant to bring us to our knees and say, this is yours. It's only yours to grasp. Lastly, God gives us a job to do as his children, and we are his children. If we are in Christ, we are his children. This is verses 12 and 13. I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. What good is there in the futility of our lives? Eat, drink, and be merry. God has given us one another. This isn't hedonism, mind you, but rather an enjoyment rooted in the eternality of Christ. God gives us gifts and labors in this life. Through gifts and labors which are passing, though they are gifts and labors which are passing, they are gifts and labors which reflect the truth of Christ. These are our two jobs while we are here on this earth. Fear God and enjoy life. Those are our two jobs. Fear God, enjoy life. And what we enjoy in life is reflective of the truth and beauty of Christ. Yeah, it's a vapor. Yeah, it's passing away. That clears up all the muck. What is there to hold on to? Why try? Why try to hold on to anything? Why try to hold on to this pulpit when I can hold on to Christ? What point is there? The point is Christ. What a freeing and beautiful truth. The point is Christ. It removes all confusion. It removes striving for things that we don't own or we can't attain. It removes jealousy. It removes pride. It removes hatred. It magnifies love. Eat and drink. Enjoy the good of all your labor. Yeah, it's going to pass away. But God is calling us to enjoy it right now. Not in a hedonistic way, again, but to enjoy it in a Christian way. Enjoy our labor, our eating, our drinking, our merriment with one another for the sake of Christ. Christ is calling us to joy. That's what he's calling us to. Isn't that ironic that we started with "you're going to die" and we end with Christ is calling us to joy? Again, it just happens. The kingdom's upside down. You're going to die. Be glad. Be very glad. It is beautiful to eat out with your family and friends. It's beautiful to play disc golf or to take leisure time. Rejoice. Be glad. There are virtues to pursue for the sake of Christ. I mean, the preacher, even in verse 12, includes to do good. But it is a sin. It is a sin. It is a sin to reject enjoyment and leisure. Don't reject pleasure. Do not reject leisure. Even the Puritans taught this. We always think of the Puritans like as wearing these big buckles, and we only think about them on Thanksgiving. They're really important to establishing the Christian faith in America, but that's neither here nor there. Even they, the Puritans, the black and white Puritans, recognize this truth. It is a sin to deny enjoyment. God has given it to us for the sake of magnifying him. So I said this was going to be depressing, but it's kind of not, actually. Enjoy life. Enjoy what you have. Enjoy one another. Eat, drink, be merry. But do so in a way that shows reverence and fear to God. It's a gift of God. Enjoyment is a gift of God. Even though our labor will pass away, it is also a gift of God, and there is good in it. Will work done in and for the sake of the gospel pass away? No. This work is permanent. Our conversations that we have with the person at the grocery checkout line or the gas station attendant, if they reflect the truth and beauty of Christ, those things, even the little things, will not pass away. They are things of the kingdom. They are eternal. They are the foundations. Well, not the foundations. They're the adornments. That's a good word. They're the adornments. They're the jewels of the kingdom. These conversations, the individuals that we bring to their knees and say, look upon Christ. Those moments, the moments we spend with our families, the moments we spend in enjoyment of one another, each savoring of a beautiful dish of food, maybe the Olive Garden. Each of these, I pointed to Autumn in case you couldn't see, each of these point to the beauty and truth of Christ. These are eternal. So you know what? I'm going to eat that pasta. It's going to be gone. The enjoyment, the truth of that enjoyment, that is eternal. Though it passes away, it is eternal. And I've accidentally stumbled into the perfect metaphor for this. Maybe it's not perfect, but a good metaphor for this. That is life. It's like a beautiful dish of food. It passes away, but there's truth in its beauty. So this is my encouragement today. Enjoy life. Fear God.